Check. Call the meeting to order at 6:01. If the vice chair could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure. Please repeat after me. Excuse me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Please let the record show that all planning commissioners are present.
Moving on to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion? Is there any amendments to the minutes that we want to make?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Thank you. The minutes passed 5-0. Public comments. Anyone wishing to address the Planning Commission during the public comment section or on an agenda item is asked to complete a request to speak form available at the door. The completed form is to be submitted to the Planning Commission secretary prior to the individual being heard by the Planning Commission. Any person wishing to address the Planning Commission on a subject other than those scheduled on the agenda is requested to do so at this time. In order to conduct a timely meeting, there will be a 3-minute time limit per person and an overall time limit of 15 minutes for the public comments portion of the agenda. State law prohibits the Planning Commission from taking any action on a specific item unless it appears on the posted agenda. With that, do we have any public comments?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Nothing on the consent calendar, so we'll move to the public hearing. And item 2, Coastal Development Permit CDP 20-0007, Site Development Permit SDP 20-0010, and Administrative Modification of Standards AMS 22-0001 to construct a new 4,132 square foot single-family residence, roof deck, and attached 2-car garage at 35525 Beach Road. Is there a staff report?
Yes, we do. Before I hand over to John Champ, I want to say specifically the agenda is arranged to get John in and out of here quickly because he's a new dad of our second baby, 3 weeks old today to Savannah. So congratulations, John. So he might be a little tired, but I think he's going to still do well.
It's okay.
Hopefully I can pull it together here. Yeah. I think I've kept the presentation brief. So yes, before you today is a request for a new house located at 35525 Beach Road. The project is located within the Capistrano Beach Community Services District, also known as Beach Road. It's a 4,800 square foot lot located within the RBR 12 zoning district. It is also located within the floodplain overlay coastal zone, as well as the appeals jurisdiction of the Coastal Commission. So the scope of work here is for a new house. As I said, it is located within the coastal zone, which is requiring the discretionary review today for the 4,100 square foot single family residence with improved attached 2-car garage, seaward deck, as well as a roof deck. The project meets all of the applicable development standards with the exception of the requested administrative modifications to the standards, which I'll discuss later in the presentation, and complies with the future base flood elevation of 21 feet. Here we have all of the applicable development standards for the project for the RBR 12 zoning. And it meets all the necessary setbacks, including front, side, structure string line, patio string line, as well as the necessary height, landscaping, and parking. Here we have the overall site plan for the development. As you can see, it meets all the necessary front, side setbacks. We have the structure string line here highlighted in red, as well as the patio string line in green. Highlighted in red is the requested projection of the 3 foot for the landing and stairs to project beyond the structure string line. Here we have the first and second floor. The first floor is primarily the living area, with the exception of one bedroom and the parking, which is located at grade. On the second floor is all of the bedrooms, as well as the master bedroom and the balcony on the seaward side. Here you have the front and rear elevations illustrating the modern farmhouse design with the stucco siding, metal raised seam roof, and the modern detailing that you can see here. Highlighted in green, we have the future base flood elevation of 21 feet. As you can see, all of the habitable area is elevated above that, with the exception of, but the garage, which is non-habitable, is located at grade and does comply with the required 28-foot height requirement. Here we have the east and west elevations, again illustrating compliance with the height and base flood elevation. Here you can see the seaward deck along the east elevation and west elevation in compliance with the maximum height of 30 inches above the average pre-graded elevation of the structure string line. Coastal development permit requirements require the project to be evaluated for compliance with the city's, not only the city's zoning ordinance development standards, but as well as evaluating public access and any impacts to environmentally sensitive habitat. Given that the project is located or has Capistrano Beach Park located to the north, there's sufficient public access for an exemption of any access easement, as well as not listed here because it's just out of the view, but we do have the Poche Beach located at the southern portion. Site development permit is requested for all development located within the floodplain overlay, as well as for the requested roof deck. In regards to the floodplain overlay, there was a site-specific wave run-up analysis that was completed and reviewed by the city's third-party coastal engineer to determine that the future base flood elevation of 21 feet is appropriate for the proposed development to ensure that over the life of the development, which would be 75 years, the project would be safe from any flood storm action, as well as the design to ensure that it's located on caissons and all habitable areas, as well as the lowest horizontal element of the structure is elevated above that 21 foot future base flood elevation. As far as the roof deck, it is in compliance with the necessary standards in the height, as well as the area limitation is under 300 square feet and the design requirements. In regards to the administrative modifications of the standards, that is requested for the stairs and landing to the seaward deck. Given that the seaward deck has a code limitation of a maximum of 30 inches above the average existing pre-graded elevation of the lot. And then the competing elevation requirement for the habitable area that is to be located above the base flood elevation of 21 feet, there results in a delta of 4.3 feet for the residents to travel down to the deck. So this creates a practical difficulty in the design in that to address that would impact the allowed buildable area for the home. So that's the requested encroachment here of the 3 feet. This has also been previously approved by the last new home that was recently approved back in, I believe, 2001. Actually, it might have been earlier this year. However, there's consistency in that same type of application as that project. So staff has reviewed the project and the design and it does comply with the city's local coastal program as well as the zoning ordinance, and thereby in conformance with the Coastal Act and all necessary findings associated with the coastal development permit, site development permit, and administrative modifications to the standards. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the application before you today. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Commissioner, questions for staff?
I don't have any.
coverage of the landscape area, it says it's 10%. And I'm looking at the lot of 4,800 square feet and the development of 46. I'm trying to understand how that works.
So for the Beach Road community or the Capistrano Shores Community or Services District, there's a specific development standard for that. So it's not necessarily 10% of the overall lot. It's 10% of the buildable area within the structure string line and setbacks. So it's actually lesser than the total 10% of the lot. And that's specified in the zoning ordinance. So it is in compliance with that percentage.
And I guess one last question, the balcony does not require administrative modification.
Correct. The balcony is allowed to project 8 feet
Okay.
Beyond the structure string line.
Got it. Thank you. If there's no more questions, let's open for a public hearing. I believe we have one person that requests to speak. Mr. Gutierrez.
Good evening, Dave Gutierrez, agent for the owner. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. Although we do have one item that we'd like to appeal that was requested that we put on the plans. I brought an exhibit I'd like to walk you through, but maybe I can have a little handouts, probably a little easier to read. This one page. Pardon me? I think there's 10 copies. So the basic subject is the elevation of the deck. I think we're all aware of what's been happening with the rising sea levels and what's been happening with the elevation of houses relative to how high they are. Just a few years ago, maybe as little as 10 years ago, we had elevations above sand that were in the neighborhood of 3 feet. That's risen almost every year now, and we're looking at some elevations above the sand that are 6 and closing in on 8 feet. I think this particular one's at 6.5 feet. Given the fact that we have base flood elevations, we're trying to keep all structural elements above that base flood elevation. It's gotten even a little worse and a little higher because now we have to deal with future base flood elevations that John alluded to. That's a 75-year situation. What we're requesting is that our deck, if you look at the house, and every house on Beach Road is at the same house elevation, is at the same elevation as their deck. So virtually you open your sliding glass doors, you whack out on the deck. And these decks on Beach Road are probably in the neighborhood of 12 to 15 feet of depth, so they're not big areas. Well, one of the codes requires that we bring that down. So what happens when you bring that deck down is all the structural members for that deck are basically a few feet below the base flood elevation. So when we worked so hard to get houses up, we were quite shocked that it was requested that we have now a deck that's 4.5 feet below the house, which makes the deck a little less usable. Obviously, you can't have as much glass because you have stairs going down, you drop down. Makes it a little tougher for young children, older people there. And it is below the base flood elevation. If you look at the FEMA, you can look at the diagram there on the bottom. FEMA requires that they're attached and connected and at the same elevation. If you look at the code that the city has, 9.31, it requires that all horizontal members be above the base flood elevation, and it specifically talks about decks as well. Given my 3 minutes, I can answer any questions, but what we're requesting tonight is that we have that deck like every other house on Beach Road at the same elevation as the house and keeping it above the base flood elevation.
Thank you. If there's no other comments, we'll close the public comment section and bring it back to the commissioners for discussion.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question related to the last speaker, and I'm not sure who. So it seems like a pretty dramatic change here from what we've got. I don't know that I'm comfortable. I'm not necessarily clear what the rules are here, but if staff could maybe provide us a little background on this issue and, the position that the city's taken to this
Yeah,
point?
as is presented in the staff report and even mentioned by the applicant, the requirement of 30 inches above the existing grade is a standard. So what the applicant's actually requesting is a variance. So Jennifer might be able to confirm that. I would suggest that would require renoticing of the item.
Yeah, absolutely. Per the Brown Act, we do not have a variance listed as one of the entitlements that we are able to discuss tonight. So my recommendation would either be to discuss the plans as proposed as your first option. Second option would be to just table the item and have staff evaluate a variance request if that's the way the applicant would like to go, and we can bring it back at a later point in time when we're able to address all those issues.
Okay, great. So you've got a code modification basically, and you can't use FEMA as the reason not to comply with our code. And that therefore would be to deviate, would need a variance. And there was no variance noted in the public notice documents. Got it, okay. Well, I'll just give you my comments to the rest of the commission and then let you, Chair, you could obviously figure out what to do here. But, I visited the site. Congratulations, by the way, on your child. The project is, fully consistent as designed with the LCPA. Design well, is absolutely compatible with the neighbors. I think in this case, the administrative modification is totally appropriate and was in full support of the proposed project, but would be more than happy to let the process of trying to establish whether we can approve a variance here or not go forward. I'd be happy with that as well.
Pardon me, I fully concur with Commissioner Nelson's assessment and have nothing further to add.
Only thing I would add is that if they're proposing for FEMA Technical Bulletin 5, it seems like that this concrete deck would need to be structurally reinforced, because if it is below the base flood elevation, then the slab would need to be designed for water underneath it also. That's the only comment I have. But at this time, I'm in support of the recommendation to table this item till staff has had an opportunity to review it fully. If the applicant wants the proposed design to be handled tonight, unless he's okay with the original submittal, we can act on it.
I have no additional comments. I agree.
Mr. Gutierrez, do you want to table this? No. So you'd rather just take the administrative modification and ignore the deck? Correct. So I concur with Commissioner Nelson's evaluation of not only the CDP and the site development permit and the administrative mod, that it's all in compliance with our LCP. So with that, take a motion for the approval. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Do we need to say it again into the record?
Say that again,
Do
sorry.
we need to recite the subject into the record again?
No, we can just say move staff recommendation.
Okay, let's move staff recommendation. Congratulations, sir. 5-0. Your project's approved. With that, we move on to item 3, which is Coast Development Permit CDP 21-004 to demolish a single-family dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling with an attached garage, and minor site development permit SDP 22-0015M to allow a retaining wall up to a maximum of 6 feet in height located at 214 Monarch Bay Drive. Is there a staff report?
Yes, Justin Pauly will provide the staff report tonight.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Poland. I'll be presenting CDP 21-4, SDP 2215 on behalf of planning staff. Here we have the vicinity map for the project. The project site is located within the Monarch Bay community. The underlying zone is residential single family 4, and the subject site is located within the coastal appeals jurisdiction. Adjacent land uses are existing single-family dwellings. You will see in the vicinity map here that to the left or the west portion of the property, this area borders the jurisdiction of the city of Laguna Beach, as well as the Pacific Coast Highway. Here we have some existing conditions. So currently there's an existing single-story, single-family dwelling with a pool, garage. The existing dwelling, pool and garage are all to be demolished for this new structure to be constructed on the site. Entitlement permits that are required are a coastal development permit. As I said, the site is located within the Coastal Overlay District and the appeals jurisdiction of the California Coastal Commission. A minor site development permit is also required because the project is proposing retaining walls as high as 6 feet located on the sides and the rear of the property. Here we have the site plan. Demonstrating the orientation of the structure on the site. The proposed project is a 2-story single-family dwelling. It is 5,257 square feet cumulatively between both stories. Also proposed is a 3-car attached garage and related improvements. You'll also see in the front yard area there's a pool and spa as well, which will be issued under separate permits. So this is the lower level floor plan. This level of the house basically contains a kitchen, laundry room, a 3-car attached garage, dining room, family room, as well as 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Moving on to the upper level floor plan, we have the master bathroom and bedroom, as well as a bonus room, a powder room, office, and a 2nd-story balcony that projects off the rear of the property, or in the rear yard area of the property. Here are the elevations for the proposed single-family dwelling. The maximum height of the structure as measured from existing grade will be 23 feet up to the flat mansard-style roof. The architectural style of the residence does resemble that of mid-century modern and utilizes exterior materials such as stone veneer and stucco. These are just some other elevations from the left and right-hand side of the proposed dwelling unit. This is the development standards table that I've compiled. It's for residential single family 4, basically demonstrating the project is in compliance with all of the development standards of the residential single family 4 zoning designation. Here I've put a picture of the proposed grading and drainage plan. The purpose of this is to demonstrate the location of the proposed retaining walls. As I said before, the retaining walls extend from the sides and go into the rear of the property. They max anywhere from 3 feet up to 6 feet, as measured from grade below. The purpose of the retaining walls is to achieve 2 goals. One is to increase the outdoor living space, and the second would be to accommodate the new design of the dwelling compared to what's existing on site today, which is to be demolished. This is going to be pushed farther back towards the rear of the property and closer to Pacific Coast Highway. In conclusion, the project meets all applicable development standards. The underlying zoning designation. The project has obtained Monarch Bay HOA approval and meets all the findings for a coastal development permit and site development permit. Planning staff recommends that the planning commissioners adopt the draft resolution approving coastal development number 21-4 and site development permit 22-15. That concludes my presentation. I'll answer any questions at this time.
Thanks, Justin. Commissioner questions?
No.
None? With that, we'll open the hearing up for public comments, if there are any.
Thank you. My name is Jared Evans. I'm the property owner. I just want to thank the staff for your hard work and support throughout this project. And to the best of my abilities, I'm happy to answer any questions you have them, but otherwise appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the applicant? All right. With that, I will close the public comment and bring it back to the commissioners for discussion. I'll go first.
Yep. I visited the site. It's the location on a corner there or in the cul-de-sac with PCH in the back. Creates a couple of challenging conditions. I think, based on my review of the project, the plans, visiting the site, knowing the area, this project is, well designed. It's totally consistent with our local coastal plan. When you look at the adjacent topography, it makes sense why we've got retaining walls. Totally consistent with the community, and the site is designed well and is appropriate for the project. So I'm fully on board and willing to offer up a motion.
I have nothing further to add.
Yeah, I also want to thank the owner for working with the homeowners association to get this across the finish line. Just looking at some of the notes in there, it seems like it took a while. So I appreciate your hard work.
Yeah, well worth the wait, and it's a bit of an eyesore. So we're doing good work here at getting this torn down. So thank you.
I concur with Commissioner Nelson that it's in keeping with the LCP and and I agree with the staff's findings for both the site development permit and the coastal development permit. So with that, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve CDP 21-0004 and SDP 22-0015M.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Yes. Congratulations, sir. Moving on to item 4, a coastal development permit CDP 22-0003 to demolish an existing single-family dwelling and detached garage and construct a single-family dwelling with an attached garage and associated exterior improvements within the coastal overlay zone, and a minor site development permit SDP 22-003M to allow an increased height for retaining walls located at 408 Monarch Bay. Is there a staff report?
Yes, and I'm happy to introduce the commissioners to a new staff member, Alyssa Gonzalez, assistant planner, and she's also a recent master's graduate. So we're glad to have her.
Nice to meet all of you, Chair and Commissioners. All right, so the project before you is a request to demolish an existing single-family dwelling and to construct a new single-family dwelling with retaining walls that exceed the city's height standard located at 408 Monarch. This subject site is designated as residential single-family 4 and is within the coastal overlay district of the city's zoning map. And additionally, the subject site is within the California Coastal Commission's appeals jurisdiction and the Monarch Bay Homeowners Association. This is the existing front elevation, and the existing site is on a 7,697 square foot lot with a single-story, single-family dwelling with a detached garage that was constructed in 1966. And the site is bordered by similar single-family dwellings to the north, south, east, and west. And as you can see, there's some images of the neighbors. And due to the scope of the proposed project and the site's location and the appeals jurisdiction of the California Coastal Commission, a coastal development permit is required. Additionally, a minor site development permit is required for the proposal of several retaining walls and a retaining site wall that are over the city's height standard. So again, the applicant proposes to demolish the existing single-family dwelling and detached garage and construct a new 2,527 square foot single-story, single-family dwelling with an attached garage. And here's the proposed floor plan. It contains 2 bedrooms, 2 offices, and a common living, dining, and kitchen space. And the project complies with all applicable development standards, including setbacks, lot coverage, parking, and height limits. And as you can see from the front and rear elevations, the dwelling incorporates elements of contemporary architecture, such as a build-up flat roof, large glass windows, and an open floor plan, and incorporates various exterior finishes indicative of this style, which includes smooth stucco, limestone veneer, and wood siding. And the applicant also proposed exterior improvements that include an outdoor dining area, fire pit, and patio area, which you can see through these north and south elevations. So the overheight retaining wall in the front creates outdoor patio space and is about 5 feet facing the subject site. And to the north of the property, there is an overheight retaining wall and an overheight retaining site wall. The overheight retaining site wall adjacent to the property line has an overall height of about 8 feet. However, due to the topography, the maximum exposure to the adjacent neighbor would be 5 feet. And the second overheight retaining wall faces the communal walkway known as the mall and has a maximum wall height of 5 feet facing the subject site and a maximum exposure of 2 feet facing the mall. Lastly, to the south of the property, there is also an overheight retaining wall and an overheight retaining site wall. The overheight retaining site wall adjacent to the property line has a maximum wall exposure of 8 feet at the rear of the property. This wall is also comprised of a concrete wall and a glass screen right on top. And the second overheight retaining wall, which faces the mall, has a maximum exposure of 5 feet. This slide contains elevations of the proposed wall heights as they face the subject dwelling. Additionally, the finished materials of these walls match the proposed dwelling. To conclude, the applicant has received approval from the Monarch Bay Association's Architectural Review Committee, and the project meets all applicable development standards. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve CDP 22-0003 and minor SDP 22-003, subject to the findings and conditions included in the draft resolution. And thank you for your time, and I can answer any of your questions.
Great job.
Thank you.
I will open it up for commissioner comments or commissioner questions, excuse me. No questions? No questions? Right. Right. You did a good job.
Thank you. That was a little nerve-wracking. First time.
With that, I'll open it up for the public hearing. If there's anyone wishing to speak, if you haven't signed in after you're done, please make sure that you get with the secretary.
I will do that. Thank you. Anders Lassiter, architect for the project. I'm here to answer any questions if you have them. And I also extend a thank you to Alyssa for her help. She was a real joy to work with, and you guys are lucky to have her. So thank you.
Thank you. Any question for the architect? All right, with that, I will close the public comments and bring it back to commissioners for comment.
Well, since it's in compliance with all the development standards and it meets the conformity of all the 7 requirements from the Coastal Commission, and I think it's well designed, I support the project.
I have no additional comments to add.
I really appreciated your architectural package and the 3D schematics. Made it a lot easier to figure out what certain things are, and really impressed with the design of the house as well. The materials, everything, just spectacular. I also agree with everything that my fellow commissioners said related to the rest of the project. So I'm in full support.
Thank you. Yeah, I also want to say that I appreciate the applicant's willingness to work with their adjacent neighbor on that wall where they're putting the screening up. I think that it shows goodwill on the part of the applicant. So, clearly it complies with the CDB and SDP requirements. So I'm in support of it as well. So with that, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Congratulations, sir. With that, go back to the agenda. And is there any old business? Nope. No new business. Anything on staff reports?
Just briefly, the Planning Commission's action on the short-term rental program was appealed. It was considered as presented to the Planning Commission as an item at their last meeting, but it was continued prior to receiving public testimony. The item has been continued to June 12th. It's actually out of
July 12th.
July 12th. Thank you. July 12th at 6 p.m. at this location, and it'll be the only item on the agenda. Secondly, I was looking over there, a reminder to me that we actually got an award recently, right there in front of Justin. The City of Dana Point, Belinda Dinas was the project manager on the Doheny Village Outreach Program. So the APA, American Planning Association of Orange County, recognized the great work that she did in Doheny Village and bringing the community together. So we got an award for that. So next time we see Belinda, tell her congratulations. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner comments?
No, I think it's great to hear that Belinda got that award. I know that, it wasn't just her, it was probably you helped her quite a bit. And I'm sure many other people did, but an acknowledgement to how our city works with the community to change hearts and minds and come together to find a solution that works, and really impressive. So I will definitely make that note. And other than that, happy 4th.
Welcome aboard, Alyssa.
Yeah, my only comment was welcome aboard. Great. Nice to have you here.
Yes. Yeah, thank you and welcome aboard. It's always fun to do your first presentation. Couple things. One, don't forget we have our trolley hop on Sunday, and for all those that are interested. And secondly, as it relates to what happened with item number 2 and the request for variance as opposed to, can we somehow tell, when you guys are talking to applicants, tell them that the hearing is not the time to want to make a wholesale change to plans, that it just gums up the works. So they, whatever we can do to reinforce that would be greatly appreciated. So with that, that's all I have. Thanks everybody for coming, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.